All right, good morning. We are back for 7th period, 6th grade art, and we have already experimented with a whole bunch of different techniques. I have gone through, I have planned, and what I realized when I looked at this image versus the sailboat for 6th period, I wanted to block out using my masking tape technique and leave these areas of the painting white. I wanted to pull some of these out. So I have already gone, before I started the video, I've cut up a whole bunch of tape and I placed it around the surface. I also made sure to echo that technique so that nothing stands out too much. So I have some masked off areas in this upper right quadrant, the lower right, the lower left, and some in the upper left quadrants. I know that today I'm just going to approach the background. When I'm working in large areas, I want to use a large brush. For some other tighter areas that I'm going to get into today, I'm going to use a little bit smaller. And then we're going to wait to use this brush until we get to some of the smaller details. I used it on here because, again, we were painting smaller areas. I know that today I'm going to use a lot of flat washes and graded washes, maybe some lifting in these areas to lift this out. The other thing I want to start with first, though, besides my masking tape, is to pull out some of these other white areas. So I know in his tail he's got some white, and maybe he's got some, maybe a little yellow orange in here. So I am going to try to just give him a little bit of texture, because anytime we do this this technique with the crayons, the wax resist, obviously we want to get it down before we start painting. I got to get this little shadow in here, and I can do that later. I can even put some paint over it. I just want to make sure I'm placing it in the right area. And he is nice and orange, yellow orange over in here. Here's my rule of thirds line, so I'm kind of following it around, and I'm using my directions. What direction is this going in? That tail kind of comes out this way, so I'm going to make some of those there. I could use a bit of black. I hope this is black. There we go. But again, I don't want this to be a drawing, and I am kind of skipping ahead to the details with this because these are the areas that are going to be blacked out. His nose I can paint in later, but I can also just give it a suggestion here. There we go. There's his little eye. I just like this technique a lot to kind of get some of the undertones in here. So again, blocking out with my, and I already know where, with my crayon, with my wax crayon, and I already know where these objects are located because I took the time to draw my linear lay-in. So I've blocked out the white, I've done some crayon resist, some wax resist technique in here. Cute little guy. So let's get to the painting part. This color, I'm going to say blue-green. It's a dull blue-green. So first of all, let's start with the blue-green right here. I put it in my palette that I'm using a glass ceramic plate for my palette because not working on the desks at school. So here's my blue-green, and to make blue-green dull, I'm going to add some red-orange, which is our opposite color, the complement. And there you can see how that just dulled out. I am definitely going to need some dull green in here. So I use the same brush, and if the colors mix a little bit, that's okay, because we do want these to be dulled out. I have some yellow-green in here. I thought these were all pre-wet, but they're not. Look at, I just go over that with there's the yellow-green. If I want a dull yellow-green, I need to add some red-violet in there. There's some nice color there. And there is like a blue, I'm gonna say there's like a blue-violet in here, but it's still tinted green and maybe even some red-violet. So you see how I'm setting up my palette here. I'm just suggesting some colors. And then there is like a little yellow orange, so I'm going to put some yellow orange up here for me for later. And there's my blue-green again in case I need some of that. And then some pure green I'm going to keep on my palette. And these will dry a little bit, but I can always wet them down again. And of course, I do want to put an area of black in case I need some darker tones in there. I rinse my brush out, and I am squeegeeing it with my fingers to rinse that out. And I think I'm gonna add just a smidge more above the tail. I am gonna add a little bit of white in here. I may be able to use some lifting over that later. I have marked off some of these whiter areas, and I'm just gonna give it some of that texture all over. There's some of this in between these rule of thirds here, and I am going to take and add some more of these white little ripples that are catching the light in the water with my white. Look at this, come down underneath here, and this is going to block the color again. It's a wax resist, and it's going to leave these areas in the water white. You'll see that as soon as I paint dark in those areas. So we'll say some of this. There's a lot going on down in here, and I think I've pretty much, there we go, covered the surface. I do want to pre-wet the surface because I don't want anything. I'm going to go around this little guy here, and we'll pre-wet down here also. Come around his face. Now my background has some, it's kind of like vertical areas. Look at that nice dull green that I just started with there, and you can see there's where the wax crayon is resisting. Just come around him here. Normally our background, I can see some like horizontal lines going on in here. So this is where I'm going to come in and do some horizontal. But here's that reddish, there's like a red violet going on up here. Mix that in so it doesn't stand out so much. Maybe grab some of the white and make this color in here. Back again with some more of our yellow green. Make that dull yellow green. Where's my red violet? Right there. And because I pre-wet this surface, we're not going to get big lines, and everything should blend together. And here's that verticalness. There's some more bluish green in here, so I am going to grab some more of this color, put it in here. Grab some of the darker tone. There, you can see where the wax is resisting it. And a lot of this is vertical, so I'm thinking that there's a lot of trees back here that are kind of have branches that are coming down. Here's that yellow orange. That's a lot of yellow orange. Rinse that out of there because I just want to tint it. Don't forget that this guy's going to be a little yellow orange though, so we are going to add a little yellow orange down into here, maybe over into here, and wherever else I can see it. We do have more of this violet going on in here, red violet, I should say. So we're not going for perfection. What we're going for is just the representation of what we see. This is dark over here, so I am going to add some more pigment. Now that the paper is pretty much wet, let's get some dark green blue going on. Not as bright, so I am using a lot of that red. There's that nice murky color that I'm seeing. And there's some more above his tail. And the water is going to do a lot of the work for me. Grab some more of this. We have some of that red violet over in here, so we want to make sure there's some still over in here. And we really want this background to be blended. And I'm going to be careful not to overwork my surface. If I overwork this surface, what's going to happen is the paper is going to begin to pill, and that is not going to play in your favor. Let's add some more of this. There's that color. I'd say that's more green. So don't be afraid. I mean, these are background colors, and we all know that the background should be dull. I am going to add some more of this yellow green over into here. And because I have the yellow green there, I do want to bring some over in here. And then somewhere in here, it switches from being, let's grab, I have my paper towels to wipe my brush off to dry it up a little bit. I want to soak up some of that water where it's kind of piling up. He does have this kind of red violet streak there. And let's go back to our yellow green now. And a dark yellow green. Let's get some of that black in there. And it does come out this way, I'm going to say. and I keep that horizontal. You can see these horizontal lines in there. This white is going to give it like more of an opaque gray, but you can see that there's like a color difference right here. Cameo white. So it is kind of a minty green on top, but it's still dull. So I am going to mix that red violet in with that again. And I'm going to come back across the top to give it that. There we go. And then my water down here has turned more into a gray. So I am going to, ooh, that's a lot of black in there. Remember, we don't ever want to really use pure black because nothing is ever really pure black. Black is always going to be tinted one way or the other. So I'm going to drag some of this into here where I'm missing. Now that I see all this technique that I used, maybe I should have used the, oh, what do you call it? Which technique? The lifting technique, you know? This corner's nice and dark. Let's get this corner nice and dark. Add some of that black in there. But if I'm going to add black in there, there definitely needs to be black in here. So now I'm going to change brushes. I want to get this wet as soon as possible because I do not want those paint lines, the outline of my paint, to show. And remember, the paint's going to travel wherever the water is. And then I'm going to come back over here for a quick second and see if I can get some more of this milky green. If you use white, be careful with the white. It'll turn your color kind of milky. And here, oh, that's a good color for that. And we'll put some in here. And again, my surface is still wet, so it's really going to spread out. It's good. I'm using this wet on wet technique right here where everything is kind of a blur in the background there. Rinse this out. Bring it over because I do want it to blend. Let's bring this up vertical again. There we go. Those are great colors, and you know, the echoing is awesome in here. That was kind of moving. Let's bring this color down into here now because we need this in here. There's that greenish. It's Lumineers Day on the radio. I say the radio. On my Spotify, but it is a little warmer, so I am going to add some of this. There we go. And when I put the wet into wet, I mean, the colors just blend together so perfectly. And I'm echoing what I've got going on over in other areas of the painting. This one is really, oh, I got to be careful. If I just grab some of this blue-green, if I'm going to put it over here, I better make sure to echo it in other places as well. But I am going to say I see some more of this blue-green here. Again, this isn't art, it's not a science. You're just kind of trying to represent what you see. There is no right or wrong. This is how, when people ask me, like, how do you grade students in their artwork? Like, can you really grade it? And I say, well, I mainly look that they're experimenting with different techniques. That's what I'm looking for, you guys. That you're trying to blend your colors, mix them. And really just trying your hardest and going out of your comfort zone. I mean, there's nothing, you know, it's not like this is in my comfort zone, standing in my kitchen, talking to you all through the video. I'd prefer to have you in class in front of me, but this would be the same example that I would do in class with you. So we're still kind of together. Again, I apologize for all of the delays in my posting. It's been a couple days of technical difficulties around here. So now that I'm back in business, I feel so much better. Let's get this a little darker over here. Bring some more of that color, deepen it up over in here. This is turning out better than I could hope. And again, I'm just trying to look at colors, look at shapes. Let's go down to these murky waters here. I don't think I want to play with my background anymore. It's just kind of exactly how, as I go and touch it again. Let's not overwork the surface, because the cool part about watercolors is that they're transparent and you can really sense the layers of the colors in there. So maybe today I do want to get the body of our fox in here. So I'm going to say, here's our color in here. I'm going to start layering him. I don't want to go too close to what I've already painted. Maybe he's a little, there he goes. He's a little brighter. And we'll get to more of him tomorrow. I just kind of want to get some, like the underpainting going on in here. I'm going to bring this all the way over. In between his legs, he's got some more of our green here. Definitely some more green tone in here. Remember, direction of the paint matters. So if it's vertical, I'm painting vertical. If it's horizontal, I want to paint horizontal. Okay, here we go. Blue-green, dark blue-green down here in foreground. And it's dull. So I've got my blue-green, which means I'm going to go get some of my red-orange to make that dull. Look at how nice and dull and murky that comes, just like this water down in here. Perfect. Miss Adams. How do you do it? Well, I just look at colors, I look at shapes, I look at direction of the objects. That's nice and dark. We'll put this down in here. And I'm remembering to echo my colors. There I go over the masking tape. I'm going to worry about those grass. I'm going to worry about the tall grass later. That's a detail. That's going to come later. And there is a little bit of this red violet back over in here. I can see what I could do. If I can no longer see my rule of thirds line, I can just mark it off. I can see it very lightly right here. And this way it helps me keep track of how I'm moving around the page. There's a rule of thirds line here, and there's probably one up in here. So I know that this red violet, and again, look at my, I know that this red violet, sorry, I'll finish my sentence, is right up in here. And it does kind of have this verticalness to it. And it goes back to this gray, really nice gray tone water into here. So all you're doing is looking around your painting and seeing what are the shapes, what color am I using? This is kind of this color in here. Now this is part of the rock. I already know what technique I'm using for the rock, and this rock has, it's on an angle, it comes down. This is my underpainting. I'm going to take some of my, I do need some yellow green in there though. There is some yellow green. I'm going to mix it on the board from the grass. Take my, there we go, Saran wrap. I'm going to try to pinch it into the shape of that rock right there. And that's already making the texture on its own. I've got the color. I can go and add more layers of it later. I don't need to do everything right now. And I am going to block in some of these green areas. Over in here, here's my rule of thirds. I know the grass starts in here. So again, you can see me using my vertical lines as the background. There are some green, there's some green grass in here. I'm going to bring the vertical line in here, over into here, underneath. Let's move this over. So there's this green grass, and I'm going to add later on all of those single blades of grass later. I do not need, those are details. I am just worried about what is underneath and behind those right now today. So I painted my whole background. I cannot wait to do this rock right here. I'm gonna have to step away for a second so I can go get some more saran wrap. There's that color. And again, my pink is my red violet. I keep saying pink or yellow orange. I mean, red violet is echoed down in here. And some red violet over here on the rock. And then some more of the red violet over into here in the rock. And now I'm going to get my gray, which means I'm going to use the white. This rock is definitely gray. And I'm going to mix it in with my, it's got some tint in there also though, so maybe some of this red violet again. There's my gray. And I'm going to bring this underneath. And I better work quickly because you know what's coming. I need this to stay wet. And then it's darker over into here. There's some shadows I'm laying in there. Lay that in there. There's the shadow right in here. It gets lighter. And I'm gonna run for the saran wrap. I want to make sure that stays wet. Here's my saran wrap. And I'm just going to lay it onto the surface like this. And that is going to form my rock texture. And you'll see how that dries tomorrow. So there's my rock texture. Basically, my whole background is done. Maybe I do want to do a little bit more work on my fox. He's got... let's grab this in here. He's a little yellow orange, and here he's definitely some darker in here. Watercolor, you know, the name watercolor is going to dry quickly. So you want to work somewhat quickly. These are great colors, and I'm just going to kind of let those move around as they may. Perfect. Let's get some more of our yellow orange in there. Again, just trying to look. Oops. I went down into his neck, and his neck is definitely gray underneath his little smiley face right here. Let's get this out of the way. I don't want that interfering. So we're just playing matchy color. It's kind of pink, and I think my video is getting to be, oh my goodness, it's 23 minutes long. But this, my friends, is how we are going to start our paintings. And I'm just going to go over his whole face with water here, give it a nice thin underpainting, and I can go back and do details again tomorrow. So let's stop this. I'm going to blend this out before it stays, but that would look cool too. His tail already looks cool. And again, as I finish this, we'll see who our lucky winner is of the fox painting. Let's get his leg down there. Okay, so that is my first layer of the fox for 7th period, 6th grade watercolors. Again, look at color, blend your colors, look at directions, look at shapes, block things out first with either a wax resist or the masking tape. We'll take the masking tape off later, and that's all over also. And I'm going to keep building up these surfaces every day. So I hope you enjoyed watching me paint for a little while this morning. I am so happy to be back in business painting because those couple days of difficulties were really upsetting to me, but do me a favor, try to take a photo when you're done every day, email it to me, and I will write back and give you some suggestions. So this is today's lesson. Watch it and go try your best on yours. All right, thank you.